Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, and this is not a Blumhouse film, but by Jesus doesn't it feel like one. Only check this out because I remember when it came out, I saw the trailer for it, and I saw it was just put on Netflix, and it's Lionsgate, but fuck me, doesn't it feel like Blumhouse. 2018's Winchester, which is directed by the Spearing brothers, who the year before did Jigsaw. Stars Jason Clarke, Helen Mirren, and Sarah Snook. Also known as, I'm guessing in other countries, Winchester, the house that ghosts built. Clever. Yes, this is not affiliated with Blumhouse in any way, but I mean, I'm sure Lionsgate has done supernatural films before, haunted house films. I always associated them with, Saw, newer Chainsaw films, at least Chainsaw 3D. I think they did The Collector and The Collection. More so films like that. I'm not saying those films are great. Even though I love the first, I am a Saw fan. Jigsaw wasn't that great. I really like The Collector. Yeah, I enjoy The Collector. I don't know. This feels like Blumhouse because it has all it. Okay, it says inspired by actual events, which, for those that don't know, the Winchester Mansion or the Winchester Mystery House is this big mansion with 160 rooms in San Jose, California, which was built. They built it for like 38 more years, but I think her husband. It was built for decades. The last like 38 years, the last 20 or 30 years, it was built around the clock 24/7. And it has rooms that, it has doors that don't open, has doors that there's just a wall there, has staircases that go to a dead end, doors that go outside on a higher floor. Just a complete fun house. It is one of the most popular haunted houses in the country. Now, my mom is very much into haunted houses. She watches all those ghost shows. She has a bucket list of all the locations she wants to visit. So that's sort of that's my connection with haunted houses. Even though I don't like these kinds of movies, save for older ones. But I would like to go to some of them, and this is one of them. I remember I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw a thumbnail of Jason Clarke. It said Winchester. I was like, oh, cool, a movie about the Winchester house. That would actually be kind of cool. And it would. I mean, for those that love Stephen King, you can look at a lot of his work and see that there's already, stuff like it. I mean, not to get into that, but it's kind of, think about Rose Red. That's kind of what Winchester is. And the whole mystery and the haunted, like, people still believe that ghosts are continuing to build rooms. It's the legend anyway. But I was like, oh, this just looks like another run-of-the-mill fucking supernatural haunted house movie. More akin to, granted we haven't had these films in a while, but the worst of the bunch. Ones that aren't found footage, that would still be Paranormal Activity, but, regular films. A Haunting in blank. Haunting Connecticut, Haunting, I think there's one in Philadelphia, I think there's a Haunting in Georgia, Haunting Connecticut 2, Ghosts of Georgia, American Haunting, just all those. The one I remember the most is A Haunting in Connecticut, because that was the one that I do remember seeing, like, on the Travel Channel, the true story behind it. But, God, like, inspired by actual events, but all this crazy shit happens that your suspension of disbelief is like, okay, well, that didn't happen, or else we would know ghosts exist. Like on Haunting Connecticut with that plasma coming out of his mouth. Now, and it takes place during 1906. People believe that Sarah Winchester, played by Helen Mirren, which Helen Mirren caught some flack for her performance. You know, she was even nominated for Worst Actress at the Razzies, even though she didn't win. I thought Helen Mirren and Jason Clarke carried this film, because Helen Mirren's a great actress. Jason Clarke is a good actor. Everything I see him in, I do like him. Even the Pet Sematary readaptation. But even he just seemed bored in this movie, and they're not really given a lot to do. I mean, lots of critics have called it dull and pointless, which I agree. Because this movie has no tension, no build-up. For a movie about a house that, you know, has all these crazy rooms, they don't really do anything with it. They don't, you know, really explore that aspect, showing some of the crazy rooms and sort of the fun house part of it. It's basically just talking, jump scares throughout, and then a stupid climax. Now, there is some historical accuracy here. Like, at one point, she did have a medium come to her place, which the medium is played by... Okay, if you take Johnny Depp's character from Hell, but put him in 13 Ghosts, and make it feel like a shitty Blumhouse film that was released in January, a shitty January horror film, you get Winchester, and place it in Winchester, then you get this. Sarah Winchester is believed to be insane. They call this medium to, I guess, evaluate her. And then all this, you know, he has his own demons, and shit gets fucked up. You know, she's grieving over the loss of her husband with tuberculosis, who died of tuberculosis. Their 6-week-old baby that died some time ago. He's grieving the loss of his wife. He was shot, but he was revived. And supposedly, and this is where the 13 ghosts come in, she feels she is haunted by 13 people who were killed with Winchester rifles. Because her husband was the Winchester rifles. And, you know, she's building... it doesn't even really go into it, or if it did, it went over my head. Because this movie is tedious to stay invested in. It is very... It's very boring. It really does nothing to grab you. Nothing they talk about is interesting. Of course, he doesn't believe she's crazy. He uses, like, illusions and parlor tricks to kind of use the analogy of illusion and mind-playing tricks. Sarah lives there with her niece, and I believe it's her great-nephew. I just want to make sure. It doesn't matter, fuck it. But while I'm watching this, like, when the film opens up, we see her niece, who's played by Sarah Snook. And I was thinking, like, this movie would have been way better if it was made between 1978 and 81 and make it like The Changeling with George C. Scott. Make Ellen Burstyn the niece, because Sarah Snook kind of looks like a really young Ellen Burstyn. Or hell, even have her be Sarah Winchester, do something to make her look a bit older. But yeah, make Ellen Burstyn, well, yeah, because by then Ellen Burstyn was nominated for a few Oscars, so she would have been at the top. But Ellen Burstyn, make it like The Changeling, and make it more about the Winchester, not this 13 Ghosts from Hell shit. And, there's like some possession, like the young boy Henry, who I believe is the niece's son. He gets possessed a couple times. Of course, his eyes are white. One time he tries to jump off the roof. Jason Clarke catches him. He tries to shoot Helen Mirren. Jason Clarke stops him. And it's like her servants are... Which one of them was one of the hunters from Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. The two guys, the bald one and the tall one, that stole the bat. He's the tall one. They're all ghosts. And she builds these rooms. She puts these, like, things over the doors with 13 nails, because 13 nails would keep the ghosts at bay. They're all locked in their own room. Again, like 13 ghosts. And it all boils down to and then there's this huge earthquake, which in 1906, it was the biggest and deadliest earthquake in American history. And it did devastate the Winchester house. That happens in this film. Only they make it seem more... Like, I didn't even realize an earthquake was going on. Maybe I was drifting in and out, I don't know, but it felt more like all this damage was being done by the ghost throwing Jason Clarke around. Because you have this whole movie of just talking and jump scare. There is a scene with Jason Clarke where there is the same jump scare twice in the same scene. Typical jump scare. Like, this is like a round mirror that you would have on like a desk or whatever. He's kind of looking at it, tilts it, spooky ghost face, loud music sting. Looks for like, huh? What? Oh. And then it's like he turns around and sitting on a chair or a couch, there's the same ghost, loud music sting, same scene, same ghost, same jump scare. This movie is heavily reliant on jump scares, much like any cookie cutter, run-of-the-mill, pump out one after another supernatural Blumhouse film. And, I'm not even going into every little bit because it really doesn't matter. Oh, and during the earthquake, Jason Clarke and Helen Mirren get separated because of the rubble. That did happen in real life. The earthquake did cause rubble to trap her in this one room. Everything is solved, and he deems her sane. She can stay, with the Winchester Company, continue building her house, which she did, nonstop, from 1906 to 1922 when she died. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, her and her crew. And supposedly, the second she died, there was like nails still sticking out of the wall. They just said, fuck it, just dropped their hammers and left. It doesn't show that. But it does show, because we have to have one last little oh no, after everything's said and done, it's all daylight. We kind of zoom in on one of those braces on the doors, and a nail comes out, and ting, 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 it falls. This movie was so unfucking inspired. And it makes me think, however that Overlook is, I don't even know, that's still in the talks. There was, first it was going to be a movie, then it was going to be like a Netflix series, but the Overlook, about like the building of the Overlook Hotel, which I don't know what would have been a more interesting film. You could have even set this film in that time with her building it and showed her like, okay, does she, you know, I guess make it like The Shining. Make it like, okay, is she mentally ill? Does she think she's hearing and seeing this shit? Or does she just like to build? You know, you could have made a movie like that. Or set it, well, no, don't set it in modern times, because then you'll just get another found footage ghost hunter flick. Like, this movie is so bad and so boring and such a chore to commit to that, as bored and unconvincing as Jason Clarke is, and with this not being Helen Mirren's best performance, their off performances still carry this film. Again, I like Jason Clarke. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Lawless, he was great in Lawless. Pet Sematary remake, not a remake, readaptation. It's not a remake. I like Jason Clarke. I like Helen Mirren. But they just seemed so uninterested and bored and couldn't give a fuck. And yet the movie is so shitty, they still carry it. No, the biggest disappointment is the lack of atmosphere. You're setting it in the Winchester house. You can't explore, or it's kind of like the Elm Street remake, alright? Where these teens are hunted in their dreams, where anything can happen. It can look like anything, but they just make it, okay, they just make the scene a little bit darker. Maybe play with the time of things. They don't make it look so unimaginative. That's what this was like. No atmosphere of this big, notorious, spooky house that's meant to look like a fun house with all its rooms that don't go anywhere, or, you know, dead ends, hallways that lead back to each other. Didn't explore that. Just so reliant on it. When are they going to learn a jump scare is not a scare? Jump scares don't scare people. They startle them. I mean, go watch a comedy. Any comedy just where there's just like silence and then something loud. Like anything that, like, you know, next time you're sitting there with a friend and it just gets kind of quiet, just make a really loud noise. See if they jump. Did you scare them? No, you startled them. You have all this silence, or you're tuning in and out, you're barely hanging on, and they just quickly show you the spooky face with the loud music sting. That is all this movie has to get people. I was going to say that's all it has going for it, but this movie doesn't have shit going for it. Yeah, I could have said that I was disappointed with this film, but I didn't have much hope going into it anyway. I wasn't expecting to be impressed, but yeah, this movie fucking sucked. I did. Girlfriend sleeping on the couch. Surprised she didn't say anything after. Yeah, this movie has absolutely nothing going for it. With as little as I paid attention, I'm already forgetting shit. Like, I had to make this immediately after, because one of the worst, well, I don't know about, yeah, I could say worse, definitely pointless, because they didn't do anything different. Like, they set it in the Winchester house, but they treated it like any other haunted house, supernatural, paranormal flick. And it just felt like the it felt like a bottom of the barrel Blumhouse film. And I just reviewed Gallows Act 2, which is considered to be their worst. This is right down there with A Haunting in Connecticut, A Haunting in this state, Haunting in that state, subtitle, this state, you know, Haunting in Connecticut, Haunting in Georgia, Haunting in Connecticut 2, Ghost of Georgia, American Haunting, all those movies that say inspire, which yes, there was actual events depicted in here, but the way they go about it, like Haunting Connecticut, just with that plasma, it's like, how much can you stretch the fucking bullshit that's hard to believe in the first place? Yeah, this, for some reason, it feels like this movie just came out. Like, it, for some reason in my mind, it still feels new, despite being 2018. But it's already blipped right off the map. This movie didn't do shit, and I understand why. This movie was fucking, I'm just gonna keep repeating myself, god awful. Well, I didn't mean to say god awful. It's bad, yes, but I could say the cinematography was kind of nice. I'll even, one thing I can give it, as much as I dislike CGI, there's a scene where there's a ghost who was like a Confederate soldier, but you can't see him, and all these Winchester rifles are lifted up. And Jason Clarke has to figure out which one he's holding before they all fire a wall of bullets at him. It looks like a nice, smooth, like you can tell it's CGI, but it's kind of a smooth effect. It all kind of works. But then they have all the broken glass in there, and that's what throws it off. If all that broken glass wasn't there to really make the CGI stand out, it would have been a halfway decent, sort of smoothly put together CGI effect of all those, you know, levitating rifles. And yeah, Jason Clarke, Helen Mirren, as off as their performances were, they did carry it, but yeah, this, it's on Netflix, pass on Winchester. Like, Lionsgate, you went full Blumhouse on this. And just like, in the words of Robert, like, with how full Blumhouse Lionsgate went, in the words of Robert Downey Jr., you never go full